Hey everyone, my name is Perry and welcome back to the cassette phase. So today I want to talk about a subject which is oddly specific, but something that I find to be super nostalgic, and that's advertising mascots of the 80s and the 90s. Now I know I can't talk about all of them in this one video, and I probably won't go into much detail about, established characters where they just were used for various advertising campaigns. The Simpsons for Butterfinger, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cereal and pasta, Flintstones vitamins, Snoopy life insurance. But actual mascots, characters which were specifically designed to represent some product or service, and there were many. So if you're up for talking about a few of them, come hang out. So let's just start with one of the heavy hitters here. One of my favorites, the California Raisins, right? These guys were everywhere. They first showed up in a Sun-Maid Raisins commercial in 1986, and then quickly became so popular you'd see, all kinds of merchandise, toys. They had their own music albums, a comic book series, a Saturday morning cartoon, and then they even had a role in a claymation Christmas special. But most memorable for me were the little PVC figures that you could get. I'm pretty sure they had them lots of places, but I seem to remember getting them from Hardee's restaurants, I believe. But just like many characters of the time, they were all rad to the extreme, right? They were either, skateboarding, roller skating, surfing, playing some kind of musical instrument. And you know that when we go down to the rug here in a few minutes, I'll show you a few examples of those figures. And what about another classic icon of retro advertising? None other than the Kool-Aid Man. How many different commercials did we see Kool-Aid Man busting through a wall to deliver his catchphrase?
Wacky Wild Kool-Aid Style! Wacky Wild Kool-Aid Style! Kool-Aid soft drinks! Oh yeah!
And he's been around since the 70s actually, and I think they may even still use him a little bit today, but this is another one that just has all kinds of different merchandise, PVC figures, an Atari game, believe it or not, and then a short-lived comic book series where he battled villains called the Thirsties. And remember when Domino's Pizza told us all to avoid the Noid? And I love this description too from Wikipedia. The Noid is the physical manifestation of all of the challenges in delivering a pizza within 30 minutes. Though persistent, his efforts were often thwarted. Can't beat that. And apparently, there was going to be a Saturday morning cartoon featuring the Noid in 1988, but it was determined that they would just be strictly advertising and not necessarily telling a story. And I'm sitting here thinking, wasn't that the case with a lot of the cartoons that we watched back in the day? But yeah, the Noid even had a Nintendo game as well, I believe, Yo Noid. I can remember that one. And I know, guys, there was an unfortunate incident which involved the Noid. If you guys want to go read about it, feel free to do so. But for right now, I just have really good memories of watching all those Domino's commercials which featured that little character, the Noid. Now you're probably wondering, when is he going to talk about Ronald McDonald and all of his friends? Well, I've actually already done a video on McDonald's in the 80s and the 90s, so I encourage you to go check that one out if you haven't already. And here's a fairly obscure one. Who remembers the drink Tang, right? The orange beverage from back in the day. And if you remember Tang, do you remember the little Tang lips claymation figures that showed up in some of their commercials? There wasn't a lot to those. But I do know that they had a small line of PVC figures for that one as well. Now here's a cool one. Who remembers 7-Up's Cool Spot? He was literally just the red circle from the 7-Up can, and they slapped sunglasses and sneakers on him. That's a move that just screams late 80s, early 90s. And there was actually a Nintendo game based on Cool Spot. And I remember it being just okay. You know, it was basically just a puzzle game that was themed for 7-Up. But he did later on have a Super Nintendo and a Sega Genesis game. I've never played that one, but it looks really cool, and the box art looks really awesome, actually. And what about Chester Cheetah? It's not easy being cheesy, remember that? I remember several animated Cheetos commercials featuring that character. And this is another one that I read about where they were going to create a Saturday morning cartoon in the early 90s featuring Chester Cheetah. And apparently it got stamped out because, again, it was determined that that was just a blatant advertisement directed, you know, at children. And I guess that was no longer okay. I guess they just kind of missed the boat on that one, just barely. Now here's an all-time great. Who remembers Spuds McKenzie? He was an advertising mascot for Bud Light in the late 80s, and his first appearance was actually in a Super Bowl commercial in 1987. And I can just remember Spuds McKenzie merch being everywhere. You know, t-shirts, calendars, all kinds of stuff featuring that character. But aside from beer advertisements, I want to give a shout out to some of the more wholesome advertising mascots. Just a quick mention. What about the Pillsbury Doughboy? Especially at Christmas time for some reason. Same thing with the computer-generated M&Ms. Remember where they come down the stairs and meet Santa Claus in that Christmas commercial from back in the day? And what about that little cuddly teddy bear from the Snuggles fabric softener ads? Anyone remember those? And how can you forget the Keebler elves? I remember them most clearly from those EL fudge cookies from back in the day. Remember those?
Ernie. Hi, Ernie. Hey, you're a cookie.
A brand new Keebler cookie named E.L. Fudge. That's E as in everybody, L as in loves, fudge.
Pleased to meet you.
Rich, buttery shortbread cookies shaped like an elf, then dipped in smooth, creamy fudge. Everybody's gonna love E.L. Fudge.
I never met an elf cookie I didn't like.
That's E as in everybody, L as in loves, fudge. New E.L. Fudge cookies from Keebler. You'll love them.
And last but certainly not least, we can't forget about the cereal mascots. And the list of those is just too long to mention everyone. But some of the ones that stick out for me: Toucan Sam, Sugar Bear, the Trix Rabbit, Captain Crunch, Snap, Crackle, and Pop. And what about those monster cereals? You know, Count Chocula, Boo Berry, Frankenberry. And guys, I could talk about this stuff all day long, honestly, but let's go ahead and move over to the rug and take a quick look at some of the stuff. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the rug here, where we will do a little show and tell of 80s memorabilia. Let's just start over here. I know you've already seen this. I've shown it a couple of times, but the California Raisins even had bed sheets, and I had them on my bed as a kid. And now this pillow lives on my couch here in the den. But yeah, just great graphics on that. Same thing can be said for these cups here. I love the different colors of sneakers, like the little Converse that they're wearing on that graphic. Pretty rad. Just another one here. They made cups like these for all kinds of things back in the day. And I mentioned that they had a comic book. So I have one here. How awesome is the art on that? And unfortunately, this comic was a little bit disappointing when I went to read it. You have to have 3D glasses, and I'll open it up and show you sometime, but all the pages in here are like that, you know, red and blue line art that they would use for 3D. And yeah, you can't make heads or tails out of it unless you have those 3D glasses. Now this tape right here, I had this, but I also had the record as a kid, and I loved all of the versions of these classic songs. And I played this tape and wore it out as a kid in my bedroom. But these are the definitive versions of these songs for me. Like, I heard it through the grapevine, just sounds better sung by these guys. You know, La Bamba, Lean on Me, Stand by Me, Moni Moni. Yeah, this is great. Give this a listen sometime if you just want something fun to have going in the background. Let's grab some PVCs here. Now, these aren't all of the ones that I have, but I just wanted to grab a few to look at. As I mentioned before, they're rad, right? They're on skateboards. They're jamming to a boombox with their sunglasses on. They're roller skating. I know there's one that was surfing, and there are lots of them where they're playing musical instruments like they're in a rock band. If I had to guess, I bet every single person who's watching this video right now has at least one of these guys somewhere in their collection. I could be wrong about that, let me know. The last thing for the raisins here. How cool is this little piggy bank? I can't even remember where I found this at this point, but I just love the way some of these old piggy banks display on your shelf. You know, I have a Simpsons one, I have a Pound Puppies one, a couple others, but they are just really cool display pieces, and usually pretty cheap when you can find them too. Yep, there they are. They were originally an advertisement for sun-made California sun-dried raisins. All right. Let's take a look at this little piece of merchandise that I have for the Noid. I can't remember where I got this. Probably an antique store a few years back. It's a ring toss game which features the Noid. And let's check out this price tag. 79 cents. I can just imagine this was on a peg at a grocery store or like a pharmacy drugstore back in the day. And you know, you're a kid and you're like, can I get something? Can I get a toy? Can I get a prize? And your parents are like, okay, but keep it under $1, you know, keep it under $1. And you might come home with something like this. A very basic, and I mean basic, ring toss game, but it's got the Noid on it. So that makes it cool. Let's move along to a cool spot here. So yeah, like I mentioned, they just took the red dot from the 7-Up can, slapped sunglasses on it, gave him arms and legs, and gave him some sneakers. And next thing you know, you've got an advertising mascot. You've got a character that you can use for advertising. This is a Christmas can. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, it's got snowflakes on it. And $10 in merchandise when you see the new production of Miracle on 34th Street. So this must have been, oh yeah, here we go, 94. Love stuff like this. And I guess I'm partially responsible for Jason Knupp and the New 80s Revolution starting a soda can collection for the cave. I am more than okay with that. So this is one of those little things that you could stick to your car window with the little suction cups. You know, most commonly this was usually Garfield, but any chance to cash in. And what's cool about this is it still has a tag on it. Oh, it came from New York. Or maybe Dallas, Texas, can't tell, but 1988. 7-Up on the spot. So cool. Now, I didn't have much in the way of Spuds MacKenzie merch. I've got a couple of glasses and things that are stored away that I didn't get out for this video. And I have a couple of the old calendar pages hanging in my garage. So I'll show you a couple of videos of that right here. But outside of those couple of things, it's a deck of cards, a deck of playing cards, which is still sealed. I'm really tempted to open it up and see what the art is on each one of these cards. But part of me is just like, nah, keep it sealed. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Maybe next time I do an advertising mascots video for all the ones that I missed today, I can go back and open this up and we can take a look at them. But that says it all right there. Just his name in some, cursive font and a picture where he's bad to the bone. The original party animal. 1987 Anheuser-Busch. Do we count the Budweiser Clydesdales as an advertising mascot? Because I love those too. There's a Christmas commercial that features those horses that I watch every year. Just so nostalgic. Great music. All right, let's pull this guy over. So this is one of the PVC figures for the Tang mascot that I was talking about. It's just a mouth or lips that they put, a body on, which is kind of weird. But again, he's got sneakers. Looks like he's got some blue jeans here. So he's cool. He's ready for the late 80s. I know there were others, but this is the only one that I have, at least that I could find today. And on a similar note, we've got Kool-Aid Man. Who doesn't love the Kool-Aid advertising from the 80s and the 90s? This guy was everywhere. Like I said, comic books, video games, t-shirts, posters, all of that. Remember and I wish I had one here to show you, but remember the back of the Kool-Aid packets, how it had a little picture of this guy that you could cut out and it was Kool-Aid points? We had tons of those saved up in this little porcelain strawberry dish on the windowsill at our house, at the childhood home. But we never cashed them in for anything. I never really saw what I was supposed to do with those. Did any of you spend your Kool-Aid points? And if so, what did you get? But that's all I have for you today.
And there we are. So which advertising mascot that we talked about today was your favorite? Which one was the most memorable for you? I know I missed some, probably a lot actually, but yeah, let me know. Maybe I could do a future video where I touch on all the ones that I missed. But if you'd be up for something like that, or if you just enjoy nostalgic content in general, consider subscribing. But for now, and as always, relax, enjoy life, and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.